Hey guys, it's Marni from the Ask Women podcast. Buying a car is a not so fun experience for most people, and it doesn't have to be. At TrueCar.com, they'll help you get rid of the fear that you may overpay. You know when you'll get a fair price because they show you what others paid for the car you're looking for. TrueCar.com analyzes what people are paying for their cars in their market and shares it with consumers so that they never have to overpay. Over 40,000 cars were sold by TrueCar certified dealers just last month. Users see an average savings of $3,046 off MSRP. TrueCar certified dealers go through a certification process, and you work directly with a TrueCar representative that will honor your savings. TrueCar certified dealers believe that truth and transparency are essentials to a better buying experience. First, go to TrueCar.com and find out what others pay for the same vehicle in your market and around the country. Second, register at TrueCar.com to see upfront pricing information and lock in your savings certificate. And the third step is simple. Just print out your certificate and take it to the TrueCar certified dealer for a better hassle-free buying experience. TrueCar has the most comprehensive new car pricing information available and a certified network of dealers that offers a hassle-free car buying experience and negotiation-free guaranteed savings. Support the Ask Women podcast and shop at TrueCar.com.
The following program is a podcast1.com production.
Podcast1.com presents the Ask Women podcast. A place where two comics and a professional wing girl get together to dissect the female mind.
You don't know how I feel.
And explain it to men in terms they can actually understand. Boobs. Now, here's the lovely ladies of Ask Women.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Ask Women podcast where you get real advice straight from the source. I'm one of your hosts, Kristen Carney, a comedian and human being, along with Marni Kinrys, best-selling author.
You're not a human being. What are you talking about?
Sometimes. I showered today, so
okay,
I am
so you
today.
are. Mm-hmm. I actually said that when I walked into the bathroom and saw you when we got here. I'm like, oh, you look so good. You've got a kink in your hair.
Thank you. I had to go somewhere before here.
So you
it's
are
not
a human
because,
today.
Yeah, it's not because of Podcast One. No, I'm just kidding. I actually always try to look nice here. This is like the only time I'm in the world ever is when I'm here, I feel like.
Is when you dress up like the rest of the time?
No, when I come to Podcast One.
Oh, really?
Every time else, I'm like, I don't care what I look like, but I like to...
Well, good. I'm glad that we mean that much to you, that you want to step it up.
Well, no, I just have nothing else going on in my life.
Like this is the day you look forward to.
This is
That's a nice thing for people to listen to. You are what we look forward to every single week, I can say.
Well, this is what I look forward to every single week. That's
a sad story.
I need a life.
You definitely do need a life.
No, I enjoy it here. But, of course, you're Marni Kinrys.
Of course I am.
Best-selling author and relationship expert. And today we have a very handsome gentleman in the studio who has three names because he's really important. We have Jonathan Christian Hudson with us, dating coach.
Hello.
Hey,
and that three names was very confusing for you before because I'll tell you why.
Well, I wouldn't say confusing. It's more like kind of pretentious-y.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So basically,
like, are you a debutante or are you a person?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Okay.
But if the pretension came off, if that's what you got, that's exactly why I have three names, because so that Kristen could one day on a podcast say, this is a pretentious man sitting across
There
from me.
you go.
And
you've achieved your goal.
He's sitting here with
So I can drop. So now I can drop one of the names because I achieved my goal.
There you go.
Let's just keep it Jonathan.
I'll give you. Well, I'll just give you one name and keep it asshole. How about that?
I want to know.
Well, we're just getting to know each other.
I want to know. What's
She goes in hard.
I know.
What's
I
your
guess
middle
so.
name?
She goes in hard, fast, strong. That was.
I know. She's very intense.
So here's what happened is when I started this business, I was about 6 figures in debt, and I was like, I'll be out of this in a year. I just need to get off my feet and get some money coming in the door. So I picked a different second name. I'm sorry,
trying to forget your past. That's what you're doing.
Well, we all try to do that on a daily basis, I think.
Yeah, right. That's why I cut my hair off the other day. I'm like, I can't.
You're like,
Really?
get rid of it.
That's a wig. It looks very natural.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I picked a different first name instead of a different second name. You know, the right thing to do would have been like, Jonathan Henderson or something like that.
Henderson.
But,
That's a little
just
boring.
different
Where
second
you
name.
go?
Well,
Interesting.
I'll
Not
outsource name
pretentious,
creation. See you
though.
next time. But yes. So
you started
so now
zero
it's like,
with Kristen.
So
You gotta
basically,
earn
what
your
happened
way
was
up.
after I've been doing this for 6 years now. I've got like 200,000 people on my mailing list. It's like this business has grown. I'm somebody people know. And half the people know me as Christian, the other half know me as Jonathan. So I just go all pretentious now, and it's Jonathan Christian. But I just figured for something like this because Marni, you and I, we've known each other for what, 5 years now?
No longer. I think 7 or 8.
Yeah. So and I just figured when I'm sitting here with people who I know and like, and even people who I don't know, and
don't know,
still,
maybe don't
and
like.
still hold
You're still
any
deciding.
judgments on. Yes. That it's just better to go with the real name.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So Jonathan or Christian, I don't know, whatever the hell his name is. We're in the same industry.
Yes, I'm sure your listeners are fascinated by this, but we probably should talk about something more relevant to them than
I think they're interested in this. This is so relevant because people in our industry they have a lot of fake names out there. They usually go by, because this will go into what I'm talking about later. So therefore, you'll understand why I'm bringing this up, because a lot of people, when they choose to learn about pickup or about dating skills, they select a different persona so that they can feel like somebody else, right? Which is, I'm sure that's not why you did it.
No, you know what's funny? I was just doing a seminar this past weekend, and one of the guys came up to me and he's like, "So is Christian Hudson like?" Is there like a zone that you go into when you identify yourself as Christian that like you're much better with women and you're able to?
You take away like the Jewy side of you.
That's so weird. What's the Jewy side?
I don't know.
Not the Christian part.
Christian.
Yeah, the blonde hair, blue eyes.
No.
You're kind of scaring me actually. Like you're a little bit, Germany.
Huh. Okay, I'll take that as a compliment. But yeah, so it's like this guy asked me like, do you guys go into these like different zones when you're like changing? And I'm like, dude, like what kind of like dual personalities? But they do. They do. It's like it's like putting the old person behind, moving on with the new person.
And being who you are. That's the thing. That's what we talk about a lot on the show. It's about owning who you are as a human being, being really comfortable in your own skin, and putting that out there to women or men or whatever it is that you're interested in, or whatever sex and gender you are.
I see.
It's about really first owning who you are, because you can't turn anybody else on if you're not turning on yourself.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So if you're creating another persona for yourself, and you need that in order to interact with other people, past the point of the learning phase.
I love that you're like, you can't turn anyone else on unless you're turning yourself on. It's like, unless you're a hermaphrodite, you can't get with other people first.
You're not understanding my deep line that I use constantly.
Yeah, I'm not reading between the lines.
Marni, I am right there with you. A lot of guys who I talk to do not know what turns themselves on.
Yeah.
And they're not in touch with their own sexuality in a way that they're able to like think about a fantasy, be comfortable with that fantasy, whether it involves loving themselves, loving another person, and they don't really they don't explore this idea in their own mind, so that when they get into relationships with women, they're always hiding things, and they're always like, no, that's not me, no, I would never do that. And I think that one of the things that comes out of this, whether it's a year or 2 year or 5 year process of becoming better with women, is you really become much more acquainted with yourself, with your own desires, with your own obsessions, and what you want to bring into a relationship, and hopefully that fake identity that you created, if you had to do that, and the real one merge together. But we'd rather not have that happen. We'd rather just help a guy.
Well, I say in the very beginning, it's like you need a system as training wheels, and then if you do actually learn from that system, you can grow up and you can grow out of that system that somebody else has created and create your own system.
My system is like people, because my name's Kristen, but sometimes people mistake my name and they'll call me Kirsten or Christina, and I'm telling you, the instant I do, like, the instant they do it, they'll apologize. And I'm like, no, honestly, it's fine, because now I feel like a different person and I have way more self-esteem than I did 2 seconds ago. So thank you.
Wait, I've got a question. Why do comedians always self-deprecate so much?
Because who wants a confident comedian?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
and
that's like
an arrogant person.
Yeah.
I do pretty well, and I think I'm funny. And
You're not a comedian. You're not a comedian. Exactly.
Not yet.
But the reason exactly. That's your next stage. That's your next
training.
The reason that I did want to have you on the show is because you just newly moved to Los Angeles, so I can actually have you live in studio, which is great. But I want to talk to people if they don't know that Jonathan Christian Hudson is a dating coach. I want you to explain more about, how you became a dating coach, why you're a dating coach, and where you were in the past compared to now with women.
Such a long story.
Make it short.
Yes. Yes. We've got an hour, right? No. Jesus, where to start? At a very young age, was very insecure, always interested in being with, more attractive women. And I think I sort of defined my identity in my first relationship as, I'm this guy who's dating this hot girl. And that lasted for 4 years. We broke up. She tore my heart out. And I was like, oh, crap, I got to get that self-validation back. Spent, basically 10 years trying to get this problem solved from my early 20s to my early 30s. I was running a software company way, way, way back in the day. When I left that, I started this pickup artist company with this well-known pickup artist guy. I was his business manager. was fun. It sort of found me, but not surprised that it found me because I was also looking for answers in that area of my life.
Right.
That, we had some success. I broke away from that, started a Jell-O shot company. I think we've talked about that. haven't we?
What?
Maybe, I think.
It was caffeinated
This
alcoholic.
is why you're hiding your other name.
It was the FTC has some. No, no, it was caffeinated alcoholic gelatin shots, and that got shut down before it ever got off the ground.
I'm
I
sure.
was in a tremendous amount
It's
of
a good
debt.
idea, though.
It was amazing. Oh my God, if we had those in here right now, this podcast would have a very different tone.
Yeah. A better tone.
But,
Topless tone.
it doesn't have to have Jell-O shots. Have a topless tone. I'm
That's true.
ready to go, guys.
That's true.
So I was like totally broke, and I was like, well, what's the one thing I know how to do? I can teach guys how to talk to girls, so I'll get back into this. I'll make a little bit of money doing some coaching, and then I'll go off and do the next big thing. Like 7 years later, 8 years later, still doing this, like, massive business now. I love it. I love the feedback that we get from the guys who we help out. And we're like this worldwide company. We've got employees on all sorts of continents.
And what is your worldwide company called?
The Social Man.
The Social Man.
Yes.
Yeah. And the one thing that I really like about Jonathan's company is that it's not teaching men to be manipulative assholes to women. It's teaching them to be solid, charming, stable, genuine, awesome men. And that's why you and I really resonate with each other.
I would like to think so. Thank you.
And then I did an interview with Jonathan about a year ago about, I forget what we were talking about, but you have this one program that's called the Girlfriend Activation System that you can get if you go to winggirlmethod.com/Hudson. We'll just go with his last name because it's too confusing if I choose one of the first names. It'll be hard for people to remember. So winggirlmethod.com/Hudson. And this program is all about how to activate a girl and make her into your girlfriend. But we had this one discussion.
Sounds like a robot.
I know, activate a girl. But it's about the characteristics and building those characteristics and finding those tools, but owning those tools you need to make somebody into your girlfriend. And we talked about this one scenario about leadership and about planning either a dinner party or going to a dinner party and taking the lead rather than acting as a passive guest at your dinner party, which this topic of leading goes very much in line with a topic that I want to bring up today for the chapter in the man's playbook.
Yay.
We're just keeping it. We're keeping it. There's no point in getting rid of it. We like it too much now. You know when things are like really annoying and then they grow on you and then you love them afterwards? That's how I feel about that.
Yeah,
like the delay.
that's how I feel about myself.
I like the delayed actual playing of it by a couple of seconds just to build that
Build it up. I'm like, give it to me, Art. I want it. I want it.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly. So okay, today I want to talk about the friend zone. And before we get to your little tip on getting out of the friend zone and then being a leader in a social setting, I have this clip that I found. It was on YouTube by this guy named Vsauce, I think. But it was talking about the science behind the friend zone.
Because not every pursuer can win, and because not every pursuer is a terrible jerk, some friend zoning is inevitable. It's disappointing when it happens to you, and it's easy to rely on
Very well.
nice guys finish last excuse. But so far, research hasn't found much evidence for it. What's more likely is that you have idealized the other person as a potential mate, but a neutral observer could tell you that, in reality, the two of you don't have as much in common as you think. This is the argument put forward by Jenna Marbles in her fantastic video. It's called homogamy. We select our mates based on how similar they are to our own personalities, interests, and ideals for the future. And so when someone is friend-zoned, it's often not because they were too friendly or too much of a nice guy. Instead, it's often just run-of-the-mill incompatibility.
Which is interesting.
But let's not rule out being too friendly or too nice from
Is this
every
a real human being
situation.
speaking?
Yeah,
I'm like totally
This is the main part that I want you to listen to.
described the friend zone as a penalty box that you're sent to when your only crime is not being buff or unobtainable enough. Buffness falls into homogamy. It's about what someone else's interests are and what they want from a mate. But what fascinates me is the part about being unobtainable. Why would being available and present and friendly make you less attractive? And why would being kind of a jerk, too cool, aloof, or hard to get make you more attractive? Well, Robert Cialdini calls this the scarcity principle. We desire things that are difficult to obtain because we don't like to have our freedom limited, and we act before it can be. This happens all the time in business, and it's equally true when it comes to attraction. Using the scarcity effect yourself is often cited as a possible escape route from the friend zone.
To marry
Make
you.
yourself less available and see if your crush responds.
Shut up, Kristen.
Try
Don't listen to
using
this.
the Ben Franklin effect. Benjamin Franklin wrote about how he was able to form relationships with other people by asking them to do things for him.
Okay.
The theory is that by doing favors for you, cognitive dissonance occurs in the person's mind. Why would they be doing favors for you unless they liked you? Now, it's no guarantee that you'll become more than friends, but just by simply becoming friends, you'll be doing something quite special. Because today, we all on average have fewer friends, fewer close individuals we can confide in than we did decades ago.
Okay.
And we hang out with
that's enough. Okay, those are the 2 points that I wanted to bring up. Okay, aside from his robotic voice, but he's actually really interesting to watch. He has like millions of views on YouTube, so somebody likes him.
Is he handsome?
No, he's not handsome, but he's very interesting. He's very scientific. He talks about the science of love, science of kissing. So it's interesting. He gives like the scientific point of view about the things that we talk about on a regular basis. But the reason that I found this interesting, and it goes in line with what I wanted to talk to Jonathan about, was number one, the scarcity factor with the friend zone, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the second principle, which was the Benjamin Franklin factor, which was having people do favors for you. And I thought that was very much in line with what you were telling me about when, you throw a dinner party.
I thought he meant just like dressing like Benjamin Franklin, with like nice spectacles.
That's a good way to get girls as well.
Totally.
There. Shows confidence.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I wanted you to tell me more, or just reiterate what you had told me during the interview we had done a long time ago.
Sure. Well, the principle that he's talking about here, we have all these like geeky psychological principles for explaining the social dynamics of like how men and women and men and men and women interact, is investment. And maybe one step beyond investment, you could say compliance. So are you able to get people to invest in you and do things for you? And if you think about a human relationship, or a relationship between two people, the more that one person is invested in the other, typically that means that they're more attracted. They want to... they'll do what that other person wants to do. And so this is a really good proxy for looking at romantic relationships. Is if you think of a crush, right, an unrequited crush where one person likes the other person, what's going on is person A, who's got the crush, has a lot of investment in person B. Yeah. Person B has just not reciprocated, but person A is creating all these like ideas in their mind and they're investing in the future. So that's the principle, right, is you... And it's very important when guys are dating girls, getting to know girls, and want to stay out of the friend zone, to get investment from them. So there's like all sorts of little stuff you can do. I know you wanted to talk about the dinner party scenario. That one. So I used to throw, when I lived in New York, I would throw these dinner parties, and I would kind of have people come over, and I would, I could just run through the exact playbook and tell you where the investment happened. Like,
let's do the playbook.
Okay, cool. So the girls would come over, the girl who I was interested in, whenever like a really attractive girl would walk in the room, I wouldn't ignore her, but I'd like greet her like she was just another guest, right? Make a quick little eye contact, kiss on the cheek, like, hey, nice to meet you, and okay, go enjoy yourself, right? But no big,
I'm in love with you.
No deeply
room.
Staring into her eyes, like losing my shit, or can I say that?
Yeah, you say whatever you want.
All right. So that just opened up a range of possibilities. Yeah. But anyway, so just kind of like ignore her a little bit. But then every now and then, like, I'd ask somebody to come into the kitchen. Hey, can you like help out with this? Can you chop these vegetables? And then like at a certain point, you get that girl who you want, and you're like, hey, I see you're kind of slacking off over there. Can you come help me like chop some veggies? And you can't say no to that because it's like a big dinner party, especially if you're cooking for like 8 or more. So she's going to come over, and then you got to tease her a little bit, like, oh, hey, that's how you chop veggies? Wow. Like, and you say whatever you want, like, no, they need to be thicker, no, they need to be thinner, just giving her a hard time.
But I like that you're assigning people tasks as well, especially the girl that you're interested in.
But she's got to see that you're not the only one. She's not the only one,
right? Exactly.
So it's
you just turn her into your own slave.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we don't like to use that word.
Why not?
No, but But I have been at dinner parties where other men do this to me and to other people there. And no matter what, because I'm now working for them or I'm doing them a favor, it's like I view them differently. And plus, he's not fawning all over me. Say, okay, go sit over there, relax, enjoy yourself. I'll do everything for you. Which sort of it plays into the scarcity thing a little bit too, what was being discussed before. But I like the fact that you were giving tasks to multiple people, but especially to the woman that you're interested in.
Actually, it's funny. Our mutual friend who we were just talking about when we were walking up here, I remember years ago, I invited her over to my home, and I sat there and made dinner for her while she washed me. This is like before I knew anything about girls. And I sat there and made dinner for her while she washed me, and like I was like, no, I'll take care of everything. You don't have to help out at all. And I thought I was being like chivalrous and cool and nice. And I'm just doing all this work for her, and she's, you know, in her mind, when that happens, it's like, why is this person doing all this work for me? Well, they must really value me. In fact, they must value me so much that they don't expect anything out of me, and therefore they're lower value and lower status than me. Therefore, I am not attracted to them.
Absolutely. So, and that, it's not a conscious thing that happens. It's not like then she looks over at you and says, oh, I'm so unattracted to you. You're so low level.
No. It's just like...
But it's unconscious.
It's the same way, like, you meet somebody within 30 seconds, you know, like, does this person have status? Do they not? Like, it's, you know, just the mind knows. So in any case, turning that around, you do want to put people to work if you're doing dinner parties. You do want to have that girl eventually come join you in the kitchen. You can either, you know, give her a task, hey, can you, like, set the dinner table? You know, this, that, and the other. And then at that point, once you guys are all sitting around at dinner, maybe you position yourself close to her, you tease her a little bit more. You know, didn't so-and-so do an amazing job with these vegetables? Like, you know, look at how perfectly those are cut. You know, and you can just play a little bit from there. But that's the point, is I think that the mistake that a lot of guys make, especially when they meet very attractive women, is that they, like, immediately perceive themselves as lower value, lower status than that woman. And it's just a trick of the mind. And then they start acting accordingly, and they start, like, doing all these things for her. And then, you know, the girl gets the impression is solidified in that woman's mind. And
she's like, oh, I've got you already. Okay, I don't need to pay attention to you.
Exactly. And when the girls with whom this has happened, they're not sitting here, but I've had these conversations with them. They're like, yeah, when I met you, like, I was like, why isn't he, like, fawning all over me? Why isn't he, like, why is he treating me this way? I think he's a little bit of a jerk, but nothing you were doing was jerky. No.
You just weren't giving them the typical validation that they usually receive.
I want to call back to shy love here.
I know. I was thinking that too. I was like, damn it.
Yeah, it's generally kind of what she was saying.
But this is the better way of saying it.
But this is a little bit more. Yeah, it's a little bit more tactful.
Yes, exactly.
What did she say?
No, never mind. We're not even going to go into that stuff. But yes, this is the not the more tactful, but this is. Because you're not saying be an asshole and ignore her. What you're saying is don't put her on a pedestal around you, which is what happens a lot when guys get into the friend zone. As you were saying before, it's because they have put this woman on a pedestal, which means that they are lower, which it doesn't even put you on a level of friendship.
Right.
Because,
No, absolutely not. No, attraction happens, like, you know, I hate doing 1 to 10 scales, but they're very easy to use, right? Like, typically, like, a 5 is attracted to a 10 but doesn't believe that they can achieve a 10. So in real life, a 5 is going to go after a 6 or a 7 because they think that's attainable. You know, a 9 is going to go after a 10 because they think that's, you know, it's believable that they could have that person. So when we think, and a lot of attraction happens in these, like, sort of unconscious value judgments that we make about our status relative to other people, and obviously the physical attractiveness as well, and that's gonna play into that whole number. But again, a lot of guys I see, they immediately they see an attractive woman, they put themselves subconsciously in, like, a lower status position, and they work to try to prove themselves to that woman. And it's the funniest thing is, and I mean, you know this, you've met some of my girlfriends, like, they're all very, very, very attractive. And the strange thing is that so few men actually act this way with them that, like, I didn't find it hard to date these types of women. Right. And I'm like, just because most guys totally screwed up around them. Now, the other thing that you said is you know, that's one way of getting in the friend zone is the value / status disparity. The other thing is obviously just not making a damn move.
Right.
Like we always say, guys put themselves in the friend zone when they are unwilling to indicate their sexual interest in a girl. And, like, that is just like the death knell of a man. Like,
absolutely.
You know this, but, like, guys are so afraid to, like, they're like, oh, things are going along well, like, I don't want to make a move. And, like, I always like to say, look, you are in the friend zone until proven otherwise. Yeah. So you're not going to and even if you make a move on her, and she doesn't like it, that doesn't mean that doesn't ruin your chances.
Right.
It means you already did not do it right. So make the move. You'll either be in the same position that you are right now.
You'll be in a better position.
Or you'll be in a better, yeah, exactly.
I have to reference Seinfeld here. There's an amazing episode where Elaine is dating a musician, and Jerry happens to say to one of his friends that Elaine said that they were hot and heavy. And she never said that, and she basically says, you can't say that I said we're hot and heavy when I don't think we're hot and heavy. And then she says, it's like trying to lure in a squirrel. You don't want to make any big sudden movements and scare him off. So that's kind of, I think, what guys are afraid of, that they're going to make a big sudden movement and then scare
and ruin
away
everything they've created. That's the big fear for a lot of guys, but not realizing that they actually haven't created anything so far, because typically they're holding back on their personality, they're holding back on their intentions for sure, but they're not really putting themselves out there. So they are this is it compliant or complacent guy that women are friends with but don't see as being on the same level as, which is really sad. So what's one tool that you would give to guys for the first part that you were talking about getting out of this mindset of seeing somebody as higher value? What's something that can quickly trick your brain? What's the magic pill you can give to men where they'll think but what is something that you can provide them with? That's something they can do as an exercise, or something they can do immediately on the spot to help them not feel that way.
Okay, one great thing, this is just hard to do, but you kind of have to do it, is just try to go a full day and be the last person to maintain eye contact with everybody you talk to. So it's hard. Right, we're standing here. We're looking.
Wait, what? Be the last person?
Be when you're making eye contact with somebody, look, we're looking at each other right now, and one of us is going to break.
Not break away. You're saying not to break away.
Yeah, somebody's going to blink. Oh, you just blinked.
I blinked. Yeah.
So
that's a good exercise.
Yeah. So it's not like just stare them down and then when they look away, keep staring at them. It's just just try to maintain eye contact a little bit longer, and that'll get you feeling what that gets you tuned into your status relative to others and how much of your authentic self you're bringing into the conversation.
It also shows a big amount of confidence, I think,
to
hold someone's eyes like that.
Well, I can say that when I've actually used to do that exercise because it helped me calm down my discomfort levels, because I would fight through them, which I think a lot of people at times, they usually give into their discomfort levels right away because it feels easier to do rather than pushing through it and holding that eye contact for as long as possible. That's really good.
Well, and along those lines, and it's sexuality lives in tension. If there's no tension,
anger tension,
some of it absolutely.
It does, yeah, sure, I guess.
No, but you want to create that tension and curiosity.
Yeah, and so a lot of guys are totally uncomfortable with tension. It's they can't stand there at the bar and let there be silence. They can't sit in a room and just
squirm.
Yeah, they squirm. So it's if you can allow yourself to be comfortable with tension, then that is, I hate to call it an advantage, but it is. It's an advantage you have over every other guy and also over most women who aren't comfortable with tension.
Absolutely.
So it's holding that eye contact and being comfortable being in tension, just breathing in, breathing out, calm as a cucumber, Zen monk. That is high value, high status right there.
And it's going to feel uncomfortable at first, but then it will get easier over time.
Yeah.
After you take a Xanax.
Yes, exactly.
Those are... wait, I don't know anything about that. Never mind.
Nothing. All right. Well, we have. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off that quickly. Just to say, okay, screw. We're going to the next thing now. But we are done with our first segment now because we're going a little bit long. But we have the fantastic Julie Ferman in studio with us, who is a matchmaker. So it'll be interesting to talk about this because I want to talk to her about how to pair people together and how to help both sides not get into that place where they're seeing themselves as lower value and helping boost them up. But Jonathan, that was wonderful advice. And if guys want to get more information from Jonathan on, activating a girlfriend, being charming, being a leader, his programs are absolutely amazing. The video that he has up, which I'm going to direct you to with this link I'm going to provide you with, is really, really fascinating because it talks about is it male and female genes or is it the brains?
Genes, some brains.
Yeah, it's more scientific stuff, but not as boring of a voice as the other guy Vsauce.
Yeah.
So winggirlmethod.com/Hudson, and we'll be right back after the break with Julie Ferman. Why are razors so expensive? Maybe it's because those billion-dollar shaving companies overload their razors with ridiculous shave tech you don't need. Do you really need a razor with a vibrating handle? Kristen, do you need... Well, maybe we do, actually. A razor with a vibrating handle, that would be kind of fun, but dangerous. Back scratcher and laser pointer? No. Stop paying out of the nose and make the switch to DollarShaveClub.com. DollarShaveClub.com sends amazing quality razors and other cool bathroom stuff right to your door for a couple bucks a month. DollarShaveClub.com doesn't waste their money on ridiculous shave tech gimmicks. That's one of the ways they can charge a fraction of what the big shave companies charge. And signing up couldn't be easier. Just go to DollarShaveClub.com and pick a razor plan. They have 3 to choose from. Then every month, like clockwork, you'll get a package in the mail with Dollar Shave Club blades. That's pretty cool. And they've got other great stuff like Dr. Carver's Easy Shave Butter and One Wipe Charlie's, the peppermint-infused butt wipes for men. Say no to the big shave companies and their ridiculously overpriced shave tech. Join Ask Women and the hundreds of thousands of guys who've upgraded the smarter way to shave. Shave time, shave money. Join DollarShaveClub.com/AskWomen. That's DollarShaveClub.com/AskWomen.
The Ross Report with Jim Ross.
Hey, this is JR, and I've got Stone Cold Steve Austin on the show.
I was a guy that if you give me a steak, I can put some salt and pepper on it. I don't want to just, go ahead and carve up the entire cow and do the thing myself. So I didn't like big picture booking, but I can damn sure, if you give me a storyline, I can finesse it a little bit to make it better. So I would like to help with booking, but after the finished product.
Download the Ross Report now at podcast1.com.
You're listening to the Ask Women podcast, a Podcast One presentation.
Whatever. Hey guys, welcome back. We are here with Julie Ferman, the lovely dating coach, or no, I'd say dating coach, matchmaker.
It's both.
Matchmaker.
Cool.
I was just singing it and I didn't say it. But you
Sing
guys,
it again. Do it.
Matchmaker. Make me a match on.
You have an accent when you sing. Is that normal?
No, I'm trying to avoid what my actual voice sounds like. It's embarrassing.
I thought it was very nice.
We haven't said this before, guys, but before we go any further, I want to tell you to subscribe on iTunes to our podcast.
Yes.
Because it's so easy. You literally hit subscribe. You get every episode. Listen to it. You'll never forget. And you can delete them as you go, so it doesn't clog up your phone or anything.
Yeah,
but
and it saves you time, so that instead of focusing on, going and downloading an episode each week, you can go out and pick up women.
Right. Well, also, if you're going to be, flying,
exactly.
You don't need the internet. It's already downloaded on your phone.
Exactly.
You don't get on the plane. You're like, oh, shoot, I forgot to download it.
Yeah, so go subscribe. So either
subscribe.
on iTunes or even on Podcast One, podcastone.com, you can press subscribe so that it's automated.
Oh, sweet.
For you.
Yeah, and then remember to shop on our Amazon page at winggirlmethod.com/Amazon.
Yes, and buy lots of stuff because that's what helps keep us on the air. Because right now, people are buying things, but not enough. And I think we need to shop a little bit more.
Yeah, and it's really easy if you click through. So if you click our link, and then that page that comes up is the Amazon page. Save that as your bookmark. So every time you go to that bookmark, we get a little kickback, and it helps us keep the show on the air.
Yes.
Because air, believe it or not, costs money.
It does. It costs money. And they keep
people
charging us for
patenting things and
it's
all
insane.
over the place. So anyway, that's my spiel. But thank you for being here.
So glad. Now that we're done pimping ourselves out.
A little infomercial here.
Seriously. What else do we have today, Kristen?
I don't know. Water.
They're horrible in infomercials. You would not do well on television. But Julie, tell us actually more about you and what you do, because I find what you do extremely fascinating and challenging.
Well, everyone's always wanting to talk to the matchmaker, the dating coach at the party, because we have endless supplies of stories and tales and, disasters. Today I saved a woman from making the mistake of insisting that the first date be at the Four Seasons. I mean,
why was she insisting it be at the Four Seasons?
Because she likes the Four Seasons.
She's uppity.
She want to get all dressed up, and she want to wear her high heels, and she want to go to dinner at the Four Seasons. And you know what? First dates, no. Save it for Valentine's Day after you've been dating for a while,
So what did she say to you, though? Because if that is the lifestyle that she's used to, was she like, ugh, Julie?
Well, the thing is, she's used to it, but that doesn't mean she wants to fund it.
Exactly.
Okay, so, what I say to women is we should all have our own money to do all the things that we, want to be indulgent about, whether it's getting a massage or, getting our eyebrows waxed or whatever the thing is that we want to do.
Getting your back waxed.
Yeah, any of those things. But I really don't like the woman to feel like she's entitled to it, that the man should be just constantly whining and dining her and taking her to all the nice places. Because you know what? First dates don't usually end up in lifelong love, right?
Right.
So isn't it nice if the women kind of help the guys keep their
I
cash?
think she's almost thinking like, well, if this doesn't last, I want to at least go to somewhere cool.
Well,
make it worth my
you may as well
time.
have a good experience.
It's funny. I set up a date for tomorrow evening, and I set it up at this restaurant inside Nordstrom in the Thousand Oaks Mall out by where I live.
That's cool.
And I thought, well, even it's a beautiful little restaurant, little plates to share, not too expensive, but a really pretty environment. And I figure if the date doesn't go well, at least you can go shopping.
Exactly. There's always a plus. Lift up your mood afterwards.
So
Maybe
anyway,
with his money. I mean, but that's if it went well.
Oh, it would have to go very well, I would
Exactly.
think,
So Julie, I have a question. You strike me as a very warm, friendly, nice, accommodating
Opposite of
woman.
me.
Yeah.
Which, yes, actually, that's what I was trying not to say. But do you have like an enforcer side of your personality that comes out when you deal with these sorts of difficult clients? And you're like, no, that is not how you do it, and you're paying me, and I'm just going to come down hard on you, and like this is how it is.
Well, it's a great question because I don't really have anybody's permission to coach them until they're my client.
I see.
So in my world, I'm at julieferman.com. Anybody can register. It's private. It's free to be registered. And then I can find them when I'm matchmaking. So let's say this lady I get to tell her what I think because she's enrolled herself in my process. So I get a chance to say in a really sweet way, and I was really sweet in the way that
Beggars
I
can't be
responded.
choosers.
Well, I turned the comment that I wrote back to her, and I spent a good 20 minutes really thoughtfully crafting what I wanted to say to her in the email. And then I did what I'll often do, which is I'll turn it into a blog, because if she's got the issue, everybody has the issue. And I don't want, the basic bottom line of that message to her was I don't want people to jump to quick conclusions based on, a little bit of information. And if a guy wants to meet up for drinks or for coffee or something for a first date, we should let the guy be the guy and let him set the date. And then if it goes well and he wants to do dinner or something else later, that's fine. But we shouldn't be presumptuous about it. So I didn't really answer your question about, who am I, what do I do? I do matchmaking and dating coaching all day long, every day. And I've been doing this for 23 years. My husband's the guy.
Wow.
And he sold me my dating service membership 23 years ago.
Really?
So I went into a dating service, couldn't find the right guy, and I was really looking for kids, and I wanted marriage and family, all of that, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to have kids. So I started my own little process back in 1990 trying to find the right guy, and I stumbled into a dating service, and the guy who talked me into joining that dating service and maxed out my credit cards, that guy is
The man who took your money.
is the man
Who's
I'm
paying it
married
back.
to. Well, it's funny. Yeah, he first he took me for a bit of a ride, and then I took him for a really long ride, so it all works out.
It's fair then. I have so many questions. Okay, so let me go first.
No.
Well, okay, so this is the main thing. So mainly our show is for men, but there's a lot of women who listen as well. So as wonderful as it is that you are educating women on maybe a better way to be that allows them to be more open and open to other possibilities and opportunities to come their way, when they come to you, they're not as open. And these are the women that lots of men that I work with, that Jonathan works with, that Kristen, makes fun of. Yeah. That they're up against constantly. So the majority of women still have these belief systems in place, right?
Yeah, the old belief systems that went with a culture that would have been appropriate for Ward and June Cleaver, perhaps.
Right.
The guy's always going to pay, and he's always going to, open my car door for me, and we have to kind of let the guys know what we want in order to help the guys succeed with us. So anything you want to know about guys and what guys should be doing to turn the women on, or to, really get women to be open to their invitation, let me know.
That's my next question then. So let's say these women aren't educated by you or by any of us. So then how do guys work with women who do hold on to these belief systems that to some guys may sound a little bit spoiled and a little bit arrogant?
I think that the best thing to do early on is to kind of tiptoe around the issues. So on a first date, what we really want to have happen is we want two people to light on each other, and we want two people, if it's appropriate, to actually express interest and have a second date. So the first date's almost like a drive-by date, and you just don't want to screw up, So So it would be screwing up for the woman to assume that it's going to be at the Ritz-Carlton. It's probably screwing up for a guy if he says, hey, 10 o'clock, I'll, meet me over at Starbucks. That's probably not going to feel like a date to her.
It's like a drive-by shooting date.
Yeah, the drive-by date is just, I don't really like to see first dates in coffee shops, although if you're doing internet dating, it's a very common place for people to have dates. Yeah, it is safe, and it's, but it's also not special. So I like coffee dates and tea dates or drinks dates, but make it a nice place where she can actually get excited about, getting dressed up. So what we did in this one situation with this woman who wanted the Ritz-Carlton, is I put them in a nice hotel lobby where they're going to have a drink. And they'll have a drink, and if it goes well, I know this guy. If it goes well, he's going to ask her out to dinner. But if she doesn't look enough like her photos, or if she's acting like an entitled princess, she ain't going to get dinner from this guy.
Right. Did you see business increase by chance after the Millionaire Matchmaker came on?
Absolutely. Yeah. I love Patty, and Patty and I have known each other for ages, and she's done probably more for the matchmaking industry than anybody because she's kind of made it acceptable.
Right.
And she's made it a topic of conversation.
Like for me, I would have never even known that matchmakers truly actually existed before her show.
I really like Patty's show, and I got to give that girl credit. She is making some really good matches, and it's not easy to do in the real world, much less on television.
But comparatively, just because that's the only reference a lot of people have to witnessing matchmaking, is it realistic what she's doing, or is it a little bit for the cameras?
Well, I think the truth of it is the men that are on the show are not her real live clients. I mean, somebody who's going to spend $25,000, $50,000, $100,000, or whatever is the going rate for that type of a matchmaker these days, they are not generally going to be the ones who want to be on camera, showing their dirty underwear to the world.
Right.
And Patty needs license.
It happens sometimes. They do show dirty underwear.
Yeah, literally.
And Patty needs license to put these people in their place because it's entertainment value, but also it's edutaining as well. So, to answer Jonathan's question, do I ever say it right like it is? I'm a little bit more soft than Patty would be, for example, which is probably why I'm not having my own TV show. I'm not entertaining enough.
Right.
I'll hem and haw about how to say it nicely, and Patty will just come right out and say it,
You're fat. Lose 10 pounds.
Like I would come right out to her and say, fix your lips,
Well, it's very often what I want to say to somebody, and it's hard to say, is, dude, you're shooting out of your league, okay? But it's really simple if we can, if I'm working with a client.
Yeah, how do you say that?
It's really simple because the statistics, the track record shows it. So when I'll ask somebody, and anybody listening can do this, you go back, look at your calendar of the people you've had a date with over the last 6 months to a year or whatever. Or it could be you're online and you're approaching people online. Of the people that you actually have an interest in, what percentage of them actually respond back favorably to you? What percentage of them are actually open to having a second date with you? If it's greater than 50%, you're shooting in the right, you're fishing in the right pool. But if most of the people that you want to have a second date with won't even return your phone call, if the woman you want to get to go home with you is not even looking your way in the bar and you can never get her to pay attention to you, probably shooting out of your league, which doesn't necessarily mean give up. It just means you got two choices. Either you have to broaden your interpretation of who might be an acceptable candidate for you, or you got to throw more spaghetti on the wall, and a lot of spaghetti sometimes. I know this one guy that was challenged in so many ways. He said, I got all kinds of things against me. I'm short, I'm bald, I don't have a lot of money, and I won't say what country he came from, but he said it was a hindrance. And yet,
same as George Costanza.
He was kind of like a George Costanza in an ethnic way, okay? So the problem is, he really liked beautiful women, and he wanted to be with a beautiful woman, and he was 32 years old, and he was really serious about this. And so I said to him, you got to throw a lot of spaghetti on the wall. And so I introduced him to a lot of people, and sure enough, he ended up with a really wonderful woman who's very attractive. She liked a lot of his qualities, and she was willing to overlook some of the other things that women were poo-pooing him for.
Right. Well, so it's interesting that you bring up leagues, because actually I have a different belief system to that, and I would say that Jonathan would as well.
Well, we talked about a little bit of the 9 getting with a 10 kind of thing right before you came in.
Because I don't believe in leagues. When people say, I'm not in her league, I'm like, what, are we playing baseball? Are you in the MLB? I don't understand what league you're talking about, and I don't believe that there's leagues. I believe that, okay, if you look a certain way, and you act a certain way, and you feel like you are in a level 2 league, then yes, you are in that level 2 league, but you can alter that league that you're in.
And it's what we call romantic market value. A good friend of mine named Larry Davis wrote a book years ago, back in the 90s.
I thought you were going to say Larry David. I was like, oh.
No, Larry Davis. And he wrote a book called Black and Single, and he coined this term, romantic market value, and it was fascinating. And it basically explains why a guy like Woody Allen can date women like Mia Farrow and Diane Keaton. Well, because he's Woody
crazy?
Allen. No, well, maybe, but also more importantly, because he's Woody Allen. Yeah. And so what if he's a funny-looking guy? If he was just your local plumber, nobody would want to date him. No. But this guy can date family members if he wants. I mean, because he's...
Right. Well, I'm going to trust you. What do you have to say to this?
That's
about
where fame can get you.
And,
about what Julie's saying.
It's like one of these things where if you're just going by like the average person and you're taking an average life and you're saying, this average person is going to meet with this average person, like, I'm not explaining this clearly. Like, if you got a 6, right? You're a 6, and you're a 6 in looks, you're a 6 in your life, you're a 6 in your job, you're a 6 in your personality, like just kind of across the board.
Just kill yourself.
Well,
No, I'm kidding.
Wait, what was the thing about Xanax that you said earlier?
Yeah, exactly. 6 is great, believe me. I'm like the mediocre queen.
So I'd say you're the Jack of above average.
Yeah. It's not bad. So I have high standards, I guess now.
So yeah. Like, I think that, but there can always be mitigating factors. That's one thing, is like you can totally elevate your status if you have, I hate to say it, but if you have a lot of money, right? If you got a lot of money, if you've got a 6-pack, right? If you've got an amazing personality, and now we're talking about this with guys. We're focused on guys here. There's a lot of things that you can do to offset, like
including manners.
Yes, absolutely.
If he's a gentleman and he has presence, like the way you're looking at me right now, presence. Like when a woman gets a guy's attention and we get his presence. Seriously, when we get your presence, your attention, it's the juiciest, most wonderful thing in the whole world, because men are single-focused.
Well, we always say that there's nothing more arousing for a woman than to be desired by a man who she values.
Absolutely.
Now, the key is she has to value that man first, and we talked about that.
If it's the wrong guy, it just gives her the creeps, right?
Exactly. You get the creeps. But so I think that there's a lot of things that men can do to mitigate this, but there's also things. What's funny is at I wouldn't call it the high end of men, but I see a lot of guys who have a lot of wealth, and they think that is
that's enough.
That they think that's enough, and they can get away with a lot of bad behavior because I'm sure you see this with
either money or looks.
Yeah,
exactly.
So they think they can get away with bad behavior.
I call it the pretty boy syndrome.
It's entitlement, and it's gross.
I had to work so hard to get over. No. So like that's definitely one of the issues. I think the other thing that really struck me, and as I wandered down the street, I think it was like maybe a month ago. Like, I was a very awkward looking kid, and I grew into a decent looking man.
Stud ladies, enough beautiful ladies.
Well, thank you. But it's taken a lot of work, right? To just work out and like kind of get my presence together. Trust me, there's a big difference between the guy you're looking at now and like this guy who sat there with long hair and like a moping look on his face.
Yeah,
right?
and shoulders curved. Yeah, exactly. Not a good presence, as you were saying before, Julie.
And the thing that I realized, like, I caught some girl looking at me, and I was like, oh, nice. Feel good about myself today. But then I realized, I was like, most girls don't do that. And the reality is that, I'm going to be a certain number of girls' types. Like, a certain number of girls are going to like my look and be into blonde-haired guys with my eye color and my height and all that. And there's going to be a certain number of girls.
He's trying to call out the fact that he looks German again.
It's Dutch. Just so you're welcome to say as much as you want. But yeah, and then a certain number of girls are going to be into, or women are going to be into guys who are a little shorter and maybe more of the George Costanza. But to your point about throwing spaghetti on the wall, I think that no matter what deficiencies a guy has, he can find that woman who is going to be attracted to him for who he is and whatever those deficiencies might be. But the best things that guys can do for themselves are get a better personality. I think that's the one that they
to work on those deficiencies.
Yeah, exactly. And get better style, shoulders straight, all that stuff. So that was a long-winded way of saying I think you can date well beyond your league, but most people think that they're fixed in a certain league.
I find
and they don't see the pathway to move from a 6 to
absolutely.
an 8.
I find that it's
mobile.
less looks and it's more aura.
Well, and women,
yes.
Fortunately for you guys, this is the biggest distinction I find between men and women and how we date. We girls can fall in love over time and develop attraction over time. Alison Armstrong's one of my favorite dating coaches, and she calls it the Adam Sandler effect. And I experienced that myself. The first time I ever saw Adam Sandler in a movie, it was 50 First Dates, and I'm thinking, oh, he's the main guy. But by the end of that movie,
I love him.
no woman in her right mind would not run away with this guy.
Absolutely.
Right.
So what I've been starting asking these questions, have you ever fallen in love with somebody and developed attraction over time? Somebody you were not attracted to initially at all? Well, women will answer that question 85% of the time. They will answer that question yes. Now, Jonathan, I asked that question to men as well. What percentage of men would you say, yeah, I met that woman, I wasn't attracted at all, I got to know her and totally
And suddenly,
women.
It's like
I thought you were going to ask me what percentage of men have you met and not been attracted to, and then you fell in love.
Well, answer that question first.
He's
what percentage of men would you say, out of 100 men, how many men would say, yeah, it happens to me all the time, I meet women, not all attracted, I get to know them and it grows on me?
I don't think
18.
I don't know. It's always like, she's hot, I want to.
It's like, literally, it's like less than 5%.
Yeah, it's
Less than 5%? Really?
Less than 5%. So here's what I've learned
Wow.
as a matchmaker. I can't change. The two things I can't cause to happen for two people is attraction and for timing to be right. I can't fix
absolutely.
that. So what I do in my world as a matchmaker, I like to go to the guy first. So if let's say I took on a female client, her name is Marie. If I wanted to introduce her to Jonathan, if I thought it was the match of the century, first I'd go to Jonathan and say, Jonathan, dude, how you doing? What's going on in your life?
I'm in a relationship. So that's going to be tough. But
play a role,
but I've got a great.
But the first thing I'm going to ask is availability.
Things are going along great. I would love to meet this Marie.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about how she looks, how much money she has, and what size her breast? No.
Well, you know what I'll do. First, I'm going to check and make sure you're available.
Right.
Timing's right,
Right.
because otherwise your ears are closed, and they should be. But then I'm going to send you her profile and her photos. I'm going to say, what do you think? I'm not going to tell the girl I'm sending her profile to him, because if he says no,
she's crushed.
And the number one thing men find alluring, appealing, and attractive in a woman, it's a one-word answer. It's not boobs or butt.
Vaginas.
It's confidence, just like with men. So it's not confidence in the boardroom, though, and we women forget that. We think
It's confidence in themselves is a smile.
it's confidence in her femininity and in her sexuality and who she is as a woman.
I can say with
Actually,
100% certainty I agree with you.
Oh, good.
And actually, loyalty. Have you read David Buss's books? The
David,
Evolution
I
of
love
Desire.
him.
Evolution of Desire. Yeah, it's sorry.
And didn't he write the book about attraction too? The nature of attraction.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't read that one, but we had him on our show, and he was talking about everything that you're talking right now with the
He
different
was
scales.
Fascinating.
It's
We had him as a
fascinating.
guest at the iDate conference, and
Yeah.
he's the one. I was thinking about him just today because he had this term that he used that has to do with a guy's romantic market value. It's his future earnings trajectory. And the higher his future earnings trajectory, the more attractive he
Sexual
would be.
earnings?
No, just how much he was. Yeah, how much.
you mean
So if a guy
financial
was in med
earnings, okay.
school, his future earnings trajectory would be better than
It's
a
the
guy
potential.
who's
Right,
studying
right.
to be a welder or something.
Right.
So that's what he was. And we were just cracking up because these intellectuals, talk about stuff. We'll use words like hot. He'll use words like future earnings trajectory. It's just
Right.
cracking us up.
Right.
I know. No, but he's fascinating. But he talks a lot about what you guys are talking about, like these different levels or these different angles that men and women approach attraction. So as a matchmaker, do you find that challenging?
Totally, because in today's wild world, everybody who's dating grew up with the media. So the big problem that we have, two big problems we have, is that number one, we think that the guys out there are supposed to look like Brad Pitt and George Clooney, and the reality is that most people don't. I mean, just sit in 3rd Street Mall someplace or in an airport and clock the people who go by you and do a tally for what percentage of people would you say based on just looks are dateable? It's like less than 10%. Most people are not finding most other people dateable.
We're despicable looking human beings.
Well, it's because we've been poisoned. We've been poisoned. So that's part of it. And then the other part of it is that since women's lib has happened and women have gained their voice and are, that we're strong and we're not as good at listening as we used to be. And yet the men grow up thinking that the woman in their life is going to be nurturing and loving and soft and feminine, and that he's going to be able to finish a sentence and that sort of thing. And generally, that's not the way today's woman is.
Right.
So the problem is the type of man that this woman wants to meet is usually not within her reach because of who she is and who she's become and how she's being in the world. So we got two choices. We either have to help women learn to be a different way, or
educate men.
Educate men.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like education on both sides, to be honest.
Let me ask you something, because I feel that there's a bit of a double standard these days with women who grew up with a certain set of Ward and June Cleaver expectations, but also have...
Women who grew up with that?
Yes, women who grew up with that. But also, because that notion of the dominant man, the breadwinner, the guy who goes out and kind of takes care of everything, it's embedded in all of our customs. It's embedded in the man buying the ring. It's embedded in the man asking the woman on the first date, approaching all of the steps, and the guy going for the first kiss, all of the steps to go from initiating contact to ending up in a marriage. The man is traditionally and culturally expected to take that first step and put himself on the line. Now, so women want that, but they also want total... they want to be able to dictate who they date, what pace he goes at. They want, they want to have the same earnings potential, same jobs, all these things. So I'm not. And listen, during the Great Recession, in the last started in 2007, I think 70% of the jobs that were lost were men. It's middle class manufacturing jobs. So and we could go on. We could talk about this for a long time. I'm curious your perspective.
You are so right, and I talk about this all the time. It's not fair. And it's not right that we want to be treated a certain way. We want to be equal with men when it comes to what we earn, but then when the check comes, we got to go to the ladies' room. I don't understand that.
We want it all.
I mean, it doesn't. It's. I feel bad for men right now. And yes, 70% of the jobs were lost by men, and yet there's this expectation that a woman should always be dating a guy who out-earns her. There aren't enough of those guys to go around. Okay, and then the worst problem is that guy doesn't want to date a high-powered woman if he has to come home to an argument every night. He's like, who does the best in my world? The women who are most accessible and the men are interested in? Teachers and nurses.
I would think so.
Old school ladies.
It's not the trial attorney.
No, I would think so.
Not. It's sad that it's true.
Tied a little
so
tight.
the women go out and get these credentials and but I did everything they told me and now I can't get a man. It's not that we can't get a man. We just have to learn how to be with men so that they can have their balls intact at the end of the day.
Well, I think a lot of women forget to be feminine. They're like, okay, if I am taking on these assertive, strong, masculine roles, that I have to actually be masculine. They forget how to be feminine as well in the presence of men. Not saying that you give up all your power and you become like this dainty little girl who doesn't know how to do anything and can't take her own chair out. But there is a way of still being feminine while also being strong,
absolutely,
and confident. And I think that's probably it sounds like what you're teaching to women.
Very much so.
And one of the things
I will be teaching soon.
One of the things I think is very important is for men to be able to step up. I mean, we are always talking to guys about this. This is a core message of my business. Is look, we live in a changed world. Everything changed in the 60s. It's not going back. Unless all-out anarchy breaks out, in the Middle East or something. We've got
you have to relook at your masculinity.
Yeah, masculinity needs new definitions. It needs we have to step up. We do, and that's it. So I think there's a lot of I see a lot of anger with men towards what's happened with the women, and it frustrates me because I'm like, well, yeah, that did happen, but reality is reality, and you work within reality. You don't work within your false reality from 50 years ago. So
and hoping that it's going to turn back, and it's not.
And if that's what you're looking for, there are certain places in the country and the world still where that's going on.
You can go to Poland.
Yeah. Exactly.
But and it kind of it's a little frustrating, I think, for both sexes because it's the guys oh geez, I'm on average men are making those numbers are a little off that Obama gave us recently, but on average men are losing jobs, they're less educated, and their economic conditioning is deteriorating while women it's going up.
Thriving.
And we've still got all these things that men have to do, and it's unfair kind of for both sexes, but why be angry about it? It's just, that's reality. So rather than being angry about it, I'm just just try to be a good dude, try to find a good girl, and
I agree with you. You have to adjust with the times. Absolutely. But I do want to get to a couple of questions from Analyze This. I know we could talk for hours about this because it is a really interesting topic, and we will talk about it in later shows about the difference, the changes that are happening in the modern world and how to adjust to these changes and be more open to them rather than lash out against them and hate them.
Yeah.
But so here's one question that we got from Brian. Are there any exercises that I can work on to help me bring more of my work self out in my non-work self? Brian.
That's a great question. A guy who's confident in the workplace, but he doesn't feel so confident at home, or
which are like most of the men that I work with.
I'm thinking about one of my gentleman clients right now, and I really like that question. I'm interested what Jonathan would say about it.
I'm not even sure what the question means. I got to be honest. It's like
it's the guy who's like strong and confident in the workplace, but then he has to go up and talk to a woman. He's like, I don't know.
He's talking about so it sounds like he's saying I'm pretty awesome in my workspace. I can be really assertive. I can be confident. I'm guessing from this short one sentence question, but he's saying possibly I run a team and I can be a leader there. Right. But as soon as I get out into the real world, I'm having difficulty being that same leader, which was similar to what we were talking about at the first show.
So good questions. Okay, now that you've clarified for me, thank you so much, Marni.
I'm reading a lot of Brian's questions.
I would say basically do the exact same thing as doing it at work, just add a lot of fun to it. And I think the people who are dominant and assertive and in charge at work usually have to kind of, they can have a fun aspect to their personality, but it's not all about fun. And in a social situation, in a dating situation, I always like to think you are the leader of good times. You're the leader of fun. Take charge of your own life. Take charge of what you want to do. Be like, hey, we're going to this party on Friday night. Do you want to come with us? Like, that's a great text to send to a girl to ask her out. A big group of us are going out. Like, would you? I'd love for you to join us. That shows leadership. It shows you're in charge of your fun. All that stuff. So but
it also does sound like he's on top of his game in his workspace. So a lot of people go to school, right, to be really on top of their game in their workspace. They're very knowledgeable, which builds confidence in that workspace. And then in their non-work life, they haven't done as much educating themselves. So
it takes practice.
It does take practice and time and effort.
The guy I was thinking about as you read that question is one of my clients, and I'm really kind of wrestling with him because he's so deathly afraid of dating and so afraid of his first date, and he knew it was going to fail. He knew it was going to be horrible. So I invited him to one of my upcoming parties, and I gave him a job. I said, you need practice, so I want you to be there with me, and I'm going to give you a job so that you're actually going to be forced to interact with every single woman there. And I said, it's really simple. Make sure the women are having a good time. It's not about you. Because if he's focused on himself, he makes himself crazy with his neuroses. But if he's focused on making sure that Marni's having a good time, then all of a sudden he has another purpose. So
there's the exercise. And it actually comes full circle because what we were saying earlier about giving tasks at, say, dinner parties to maybe the woman you're interested in, it basically just,
I love it. Telling women what to do at dinner parties.
But I think I do want to add one other thing.
We actually have to wrap up pretty soon. Okay. I know you want to add something.
This is the last thing, is he's got to be having fun too. It's about making sure he's having fun while other people are having fun.
Yeah, he needs some positive reinforcement.
But to go on, just to add the exercise, because he was asking for exercises. So the exercise Jonathan gave out earlier, which is about providing tasks to women and also having the eye contact. But then what Julie just said as well, because you don't need Julie to tell you that you have a job at a party. You can give yourself that job beforehand, saying, my job for tonight.
Take the plate of appetizers and go to every single woman and say, would you like one? That's a job.
Absolutely. But it gets your brain off of you being jittery, nervous, and not feeling like you have a place at that party. Yeah. It's giving yourself your own role. That's what confident people do. They give themselves their own role, and their role is awesome person at the party who's there to have fun, not wrapped up being in my brain and getting like all freaked out about what she's thinking, what she's feeling, what she wants. And I think that is a great place to end. But Julie, please tell people where to get in touch with you if they want to matchmake.
Yes, it's very simple. Wherever you are in the world, get registered with me. It's julieferman.com, JULIEFERMAN.com, and register privately. It's not like online dating. It's private, but then I can find you when I'm searching for my female clients.
Ooh, how nice.
Exactly.
And you guys remember to follow us on Twitter at Ask Women Podcast.
Yes. Yeah, and for information on Jonathan, go to winggirlmethod.com/Hudson, and you will see an incredible video on the female brain, female genes, and how women work.
Not the denim ones.
How to get them. Exactly, not the denim ones. See you guys next week. Download new episodes and subscribe to the Ask Women Podcast. New episodes come out every Thursday. See you later.